All right, because it's 29 degrees out here and getting colder tonight. It's actually a little colder than that now. And I'm gonna be grilling these pork chops. I'm gonna take them off to cook the gravy. I'm gonna need a place to keep them warm. So I'm putting that skillet there. Not gonna cook in that skillet, just gonna heat that skillet up so that the pork chops will have a warm place to hang out while we make the gravy. Hey, I'm Big Lew, and this is Big Lew Barbecue. Now, things I want to do, and it's cold out here today, y'all. It got down to 17 degrees last night, and it didn't even get up above 34 degrees all day long today. Sun setting behind me to the west. And I tell you what, it's already down to about 27 degrees out here. But I'm warmed by my rocket stove from Patriot MetalWorks and Smokers. If you hadn't seen that video when I went over to pick it up, I'll have a link down below to it. This is actually my first cook on it, and I'm cooking one of my favorite Southern comfort foods, all right, tomato gravy. And I know a lot of people say that's a breakfast food. Well, you can eat tomato gravy anytime you want to. What kind of man are you? You eat what you want to and every time you want to. And I like tomato gravy at breakfast served over biscuits. But at supper time, I like it served over rice with pork chops, fried pork chops or grilled pork chops. Either one is good. You know, Steven Reichland says if it tastes good fried, it'll taste even better grilled. Most of the time, I think he's right about that. Now, my late wife, she made the best tomato gravy. I always tease her, said that's why I married her. And one of our favorite meals when I was married and when the kids were growing up was pork chops and tomato gravy over rice. You can serve whatever kind of green stuff you want with it, greens or green beans or whatever, cabbage, something like that if you want to. I often make cornbread to go with instead of biscuits. But anyway, I like this served over rice with pork chops, and that's what we're doing today. Look, two kinds of tomato gravy really. Fresh tomato gravy or summer tomato gravy that you make with homegrown tomatoes right out of your garden. That's a little bit different than the canned tomato gravy kind. The canned tomato gravy kind is best with homegrown tomatoes that you put up yourself in mason jars, and in that following winter when you don't have any fresh summer tomatoes, use those canned tomatoes you put up last summer for the tomato gravy. Well, I don't have that because I hadn't grown a garden in a few years, and but I'm gonna grow one this year. I'm ready to start growing gardens again. But I got, you know, store brand food club. You want, for the skillet, I'm gonna use 15-inch skillet. I'm using 2 cans. You're using a smaller skillet, you might only need 1 can. You know, my recipe here is basically gonna be on the size skillet I'm using. I'm using a 15-inch skillet. So anyway, here's the key. You want diced tomatoes. All right, if you're buying them at the grocery store, you want diced tomatoes, and you want to say diced tomatoes. You don't want to say Italian style. We're not making marinara sauce, spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce. We're making tomato gravy. You don't want it to say Mexican style. We're not making salsa. We're not making mole rojo. We're not making enchilada sauce. You want it to say diced tomatoes. You don't want it to say any other herbs, garlic and herb, anything, just plain diced tomatoes to make good old Southern tomato gravy. You may notice there's no silicone thing on there and my skillet's a little off kilter. That's because you'll see that at the bloopers at the end of this show. All right, but that's hot, so we're gonna take it off now. All right, I'm gonna oil this grill grate down, put a little bit of Kinlock pecan oil on there. Really love this stuff. All right. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna brush it all over these grill grates, get a little coat of pecan oil on it. And we're gonna grill on my rocket stove with oak from my yard, knocked down in a recent storm. All right, these are just 5 little bone-in pork chops. Some of them are thinner than the others. They're pork loin chops. And I just put Tony Chachere's bold on here. You wanna do something that you're used to. Salt, pepper, garlic's fine. Just salt and pepper is fine. Listen to that sizzle, y'all. Lowry, some seasoned oil that you're used to. You don't wanna use anything like, for this dish, I wouldn't recommend anything like barbecue specific, like mesquite flavor or coffee rubs or anything weird. Just, you know, just some basic little seasoned oil type thing. That's Tony Chachere's bold that's on these pork chops. All right, you can see it pooling up here. Time to flip these over. Look at that right there. Now, grill them on this side. Might do a little bit of meat rotation. That thin one can come over here. And really, I'm not getting a lot of hot spots, I don't think. A little bit out, you know, to that side, and it is really cold out here. I think if it was warmer, I wouldn't have quite so many. And we're gonna grill them on that side a little bit. These do not have to cook all the way because I'm gonna be simmering them in the tomato gravy. All right, that was saying 30 a minute ago. I'll put it right over here by the fire and it's saying a little hotter now. Let's see what it says these thicker pork chops are. Yeah, now look, I know you're thinking, hey, at 189, you way overcooked them. That's 150 right there. Look, I wanna cook these down till they fall apart. I'm gonna be simmering them in my gravy here in a little bit. So I really don't care that they're cooked that much because they're gonna get way more cooked than that. I'm gonna put them over here in this skillet we got hot a few minutes ago, and then we're gonna put the skillet we're gonna make the gravy on the grill. I guarantee you this skillet's still somewhat warm. It's not nearly as hot as it was a while ago, but it's warm enough to gonna keep these pork chops in here till we get this tomato gravy done in the other skillet. Yeah, I'm putting a lid on. This is my Lodge 15-inch skillet. Scrape some of that off just so it doesn't get on the bottom of the skillet here. Probably should use a brush, but that'll do. Get those ashes out of there quick before it gets hot. Go to a half a dozen strips of bacon. All right, so I put 7 strips of bacon down in there. I was gonna use half a dozen, but I had 7, so I'll put 7 in there and just give it a little bit more roux, a little bit more bacon grease. And we're gonna get that kind of crispy. Then we'll pull it out and we're gonna use that bacon grease to make a roux. All right, time to flip the bacon over. Probably could have waited a little bit longer. Tell how cold it is out here because it took a little while for that pan to get as hot as I wanted it to. But it's rendering out its fat, which is what we want because we need that to make the roux. And we're gonna break all this bacon up too. In little tiny small pieces, small bits. So I don't really care if it's all flat or anything like that. Just wanna get it all cooked and crispy and get all the bacon grease out of it to make the roux. All right, for the most part, I think I've got this bacon crispy. I've also noticed that I thought I had this on fairly level ground in my backyard, but it's a little off kilter. Most of the grease is that way. We're gonna make do anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this crispy bacon out of there. It's going right over there in the pan with the pork chops, and we'll be right back to make the roux. Just like that. Get it on out of there. Get that roux made before the grease burns. I figure this is a few tablespoons of bacon grease. I got half a cup of flour out here with me. I don't think I'm gonna need quite the whole half cup. Look, I'm making gravy. I don't have an exact recipe on making gravy. I just use as much flour as I look like I need to the grease. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use the whole half cup. And we're gonna make this into a, not a real dark roux. I would say just a light brown tan roux, not a blonde roux, but definitely not a gumbo roux, all right? You don't want it. Peanut butter is probably a little too dark for tomato gravy. All right, now I want my roux just about like that. And I guess I could have used a little bit more flour. That's all the flour I got out here. So it's a little bit of a thinner roux than I really want. And at first I didn't realize, I thought I was gonna have too much flour out with me out here, but I didn't. But that'll work, that's gonna work. Just a light brown roux. To this light brown roux, I'm gonna add in both cans of stewed tomatoes. I did drain maybe half of it, maybe 2/3 of it. I didn't drain it all. Another can just like that. I stepped in the light because it's getting dark out here when I went to do the other can. All right, we got the light on the camera on now. I stepped in the light when I went to do the other can. I'm just gonna mix these tomatoes all through here like this. Kind of stew them down a little bit with the roux. Just kind of like that. We're gonna add in some water. Now look, if I'm making this in the morning, I may add in some chicken stock or some chicken bouillon to serve over biscuits. But since I'm gonna be putting my pork chops back in here and stewing those, I'm not adding chicken stock. I'm just doing water. Add in a little water. Stir it around. Get it all incorporated. That's what they say on the big TV, big time cooking shows on TV. Get it all incorporated. I'm just gonna keep adding. Maybe I've got a quart or two of water here I might add, I don't know. just to where it looks like that's the right consistency I want it to be. Just spilt a little over the side. As you can see, it's not as level as I thought this stove was when I put it out here in my yard today. I'll have to find a more level spot for it tomorrow. And I will be cooking on this tomorrow too. Tomorrow, chicken fajitas. All right, now the canned tomatoes are salted and the pork chops got salt. So I want to be a little careful with the salt, but I do want to add some. I want to add a little bit. And I will probably taste as I go and see if I want to add more in a little bit. I like copious amounts of black pepper. I can't add too much black pepper to tomato gravy. But you do want salt and pepper. You know, think of a tomato sandwich in the summertime, you know. You want that salt. And some people put sugar in this to cut out some of the acid. May add a little bit more later. Looks like I need to stir it here a little bit before I add the other seasonings. I'm probably gonna add a little more water once this thickens up some. It's beginning to get thick now. Now you can use fresh garlic and fresh onion in this if you want to. It's gravy, you know. Usually you make this at breakfast, and my garlic powder has got humid, and there's not gonna be much garlic powder in this unless I break that up. Onion powder. Man, I should have chose some more. I might add some more garlic powder to it later or break that up. Anyway, this is real, you know, I'm just a fella having fun with food fire and a phone camera in my backyard. I do all the videoing myself, and I'm just having fun out here. That's onion powder, by the way. And like I said, you could use real onions. Sometimes I do. I just didn't feel like chopping up an onion tonight. I'm adding a little bit more onion powder. Now, this next ingredient is optional. I do this for supper time tomato gravy. I don't always do it for morning time tomato gravy. I'm serving over biscuits at breakfast. I probably don't put in crushed red pepper. I'm serving over rice at supper. I add a little crushed red pepper to it. You can, you can't, whatever you want to. And that's enough for me. Gonna start that up. Gonna throw the pork chops in there. We're gonna simmer this. All right, I got my bacon all crumbled up. Just put it right there for the lid that I had on over the skillet. I'm stirring the bacon. Add a tiny bit more water, and then I'm gonna put in the pork chops. All right, just a little bit more water. Not a whole lot for now. I may add more later, just so I can be able to cover the chops, you know? All right, set these chops right down in that tomato gravy like that, and I'm gonna let them simmer for a bit. They're still a little warm. They haven't got too cold out here, but they're not as warm as they were. It's pretty cold out here tonight. And we got to make room for this big thick one right there. Everybody likes the big thick one. Yeah, I said that. All right. All that pork chop flavor, it goes in there too. And there's a piece of bacon I forgot. All right. We'll let that simmer just like that. I did find a little bit more garlic powder. Actually, what I did was break up the lumps and I added a little bit more garlic powder while you weren't looking. Now look, these have been simmering here for about 20 minutes. I think these pork chops will be nice and tender and ready to eat. And this gravy is gonna be good. This is one of my favorite meals. I eat this a lot, and I'm not gonna do a taste test on camera for you. I will show you what it looks like on my plate served over some rice. I did cook, the rice was actually the first thing I cooked on here. I made a YouTube short about that. I'll leave that link down below. I'm just gonna grab these little Lodge handles, bring that in. One more thing I wanna tell you. I noticed that I don't think I really had to turn this. When I cook with this meal, with this pan, it's not the first time I've done this, over charcoal, especially on my Argentine grill or whatever, I turn the pan just to make sure there's no hot spots. But cooking on this rocket stove, there really wasn't any hot spots. Everything was just hot, you know? All right, that's gonna be it. We're gonna take it in like this and see you here in just a moment. All right, pork chops and tomato gravy. My son served him up a nice helping of it. He loves this stuff too. Hannah eats hers just right out of a bowl. All right, absolutely one of my favorite meals. I got that tomato gravy on top of my chop. The only thing might have made this meal better with some collards. I guess I could have heated up that can right there, but anyway, I'm gonna eat all of this and I'll be full. Pork chops nice and tender, done all the way through because we've been simmering them for 20 minutes in that gravy. Oh my mouth is full, but they are good on that rocket stove. I'm telling you what, that was good stuff cooked right over the oak fire. All right, well, I talked to, oh, mama, shouldn't have left that on there. My skillet got hot.